Hello, YouTube! If you don't know me, my name is Mateo Chavez-Lewis. Welcome to week 3 of my weekly writing updates. So this week I've gotten a lot of cool writing done, even though I'm actually doing a dinner theater ABBA tribute in the evenings, which has like 2 shows a night, which is like super fun, and it was kind of a last minute gig I was filling in for someone who couldn't do it anymore, so that's been taking up a lot of my time, but I've still gotten some awesome writing done. One of the main things I want to show you is a song from a play called In the Room Is that my friend Brock is writing, and I'm contributing some music to it. And then another one is a duet that I finally finished the piano arrangement for from my upcoming musical Tommy Rhodes, which you will know about if you've seen last week's video where I highlighted a solo song from Tommy Rhodes. And there's also, in between, there's a little surprise that I want to highlight. So that is what you can expect in today's video. Let's dive right in. So In the Room Is, let's talk about this for the first section. In the Room Is the name of this play by a collaborator of mine named Brock Bivens. And basically, it's like a satire of the casting process of musical theater. Now, if you're like me and you are an actor, or you have been an actor in your life, you will probably have some audition horror stories. And if you've ever sat behind the table on an audition, if you've ever been a director of a show or a casting director, you also probably have some audition horror stories. It is a really weird process that we do in this industry. And it's a vulnerable process, and it's a process where a lot can go wrong, and people's emotions run very, very high. And Brock has kind of skewered this all in this like very, very accurate satirical capturing of what it's like in the audition room. And basically the premise is everyone is auditioning for a musical called Challenge Me, the Kirsten McAuliffe musical. So it's about the Challenger disaster. And the writers of this musical in the show are like these really enthusiastic characters who like are talented but like maybe a bit misguided and aren't really thinking about how cringe this thing that they're making is. So my task was to write a really cringy I Want number for Kristen McAuliffe. So this is First Teacher in Space. Basically, I stole as much as I possibly could from the famous I Want numbers of history and the famous big sings of history. There's some Wizard and I in here. There's some Defying Gravity as well. There's some Waving Through a Window for sure. There's all sorts of little references to different musicals in here. So it starts with this repeated note, which obviously if you've seen my recent video on Goodbye from Catch Me If You Can, you know that starts with a repeated note as well, like this. And I talk in that video about how The Wizard and I starts with this kind of repeated note, and Waving Through a Window starts with this kind of repeated note. So a lot of like classic musical theater uses that repeated note to build up anticipation and anxiety and excitement. So I'm using that obviously to make fun of that trope. And this is also stolen from Goodbye from Catch Me If You Can, where there's that little like hit right before the bar line. So instead of landing on the bar line, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Instead of like that where it's straight and it's solid and it feels grounded and stable, it's got that little anticipation. It comes half a beat before the bar line, which surprises you a little bit and gives you that feeling of excitement. 2, 2, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I have these octaves here, which for some reason, like, those octaves are like representing of space somehow. Like if you were to do it in like a square wave or a synth lead or something, it would sound like ooh, woo, woo, right? Which is very space. And I don't know where that comes from, that octave meaning space, but it's all over the place. Like in History of Wrong Guys from Kinky Boots. I used to think you were from outer space, right? Who's that bright-eyed boy in your place? There's like used to think you were from outer space. That same kind of octave thing. So I don't know where that association comes from between those octaves and outer space, but it's there and I'm borrowing it because this is the First Teacher in Space song. So then Brock wrote these lyrics, which are silly and perfect, and use a lot of use too many rhymes, which is a classic, starting out less successful musical theater writer thing to do, is they put too many rhymes in just to show that they're clever. Am I really gonna be the first teacher in space? This chord is also everywhere in musical theater. It's the dominant chord, which means the fifth chord in the scale. So right now we're in F major. You can tell because there's one flat in the key signature, so that's F major. And so the dominant of F major, which is the fifth chord, is F, G, A minor, B flat, C major. So C major is the dominant chord, and the dominant chord in everything, every kind of music theory from classical to jazz to pop, the dominant chord always leads us back home to the tonic chord, which is like the home bass chord in F major, the key. F major, the chord, is the tonic. So the dominant, the fifth chord in the scale, always leads back to the tonic, which is the home bass of the scale. In musical theater, in contemporary musical theater, in a lot of Jason Robert Brown and Pasek Paul kind of stuff, we have the dominant chord, but we add this fourth note, which clashes with these two notes. So we have this note, and this note. That makes up the major triad. Bum, bum, bum. And then we just add this fourth note, which just makes it a little bit more clashy, a little bit more dissonant, which creates more tension. And the more tension there is, the bigger a release there is. And also the more tension there is, the higher the conflict is in the story, which is why chords with a lot of tension in them work really, really well for musical theater. Because you're telling a story, and stories need conflict in them, so the music needs tension in it. So it's a trope from musical theater, that added fourth note. But again, I'm just trying to grab all of the musical theater tropes. Then this chord progression is in every big hit pop musical theater anthem. It's the minor to the fourth major, then the tonic to the dominant. It's Waving Through a Window, it's Defying Gravity, it's a lot of things. And then I'm using these open fifths, they're called, where that interval is called a fifth, and you're just playing that in the right hand while you change the bass note. That's also all over contemporary musical theater. So I'm just stealing all of these classic little things from contemporary musical theater, and then here, this little figure here, that's stolen directly from Defying Gravity, because Defying Gravity sounds like this. Right, that's the instrumental, has that repeated three-note figure. So I'm stealing that three-note figure and using it there just to again, poke fun at the whole genre, very lovingly, because obviously this is my favorite genre in the world. I love contemporary musical theater. I'm such a nerd for it. That's why I have this YouTube channel. So I'm not trying to belittle it. I really am. I'm doing this with a lot of love, but I'm totally skewering the genre here. And then this rhythm too, this look, there goes the first teacher in space. We've all heard that kind of hook at the end of a musical theater chorus with that syncopation. Ba, ba, ba. Then the bridge goes to a minor key. So we go from F major to F minor, which is also classic musical theater that happens so many times. That happens in, a bunch of Pasek Paul songs. It happens in For Forever, very notably. It happens in, I think it happens at some point in The Wizard and I, where it goes to the relative minor, maybe not quite. Maybe it's C major originally, and then it ends up in G flat major. So it's not exactly the minor, but that's fine. You get the vibe. It happens all the time in musical theater where the bridge, where the main song is major and then the bridge goes minor. So again, I'm stealing that. And then another trope is at the end of the bridge, the energy dips. There's a moment of introspection before ba 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 we head into the final chorus. So I'm stealing that as well. I have that pianissimo there. And then key change. But put the first teacher in space. And you can call me Sally, ride or die. Like, totally classic, big, low, rumbly bass, big open chords in the high piano, and bringing it home, giving you a big money note on, and I'll soar into the big, not warmed up, and I'll soar into the big blue sky, with a riff there, just to show them all the reason why. Like, very classic, repetitive musical theater, pop, contemporary musical theater vibes the whole way through. So that's First Teacher in Space. You can listen to the demo recording of it at the link in the description if you want to hear the whole song. That's the vibe. Stay tuned for more info on In the Room Is, that play by Brock Bivens. So this is the next thing I want to show you, is called Little Quirks, and this is from Tommy Rhodes. Tommy Rhodes, as you know, if you've watched my videos before, especially last week's weekly updated writing video, that one I analyzed a song from Tommy Rhodes. So you will know what Tommy Rhodes is if you've seen that video. If you haven't seen that video, check it out. Tommy Rhodes is all about family and about what makes somebody your family. Is it their DNA being blood related to you, or is it the relationship that you develop with them and the person that they are? So Charlotte is obsessed with figuring out what her grandfather's lineage is, basically. And Lisa, her wife, is trying to convince her to let go of it because she sees how much it's stressing her out. It's distracting her from helping Lisa prepare for the baby that's on the way. And so Lisa begins this song to try to convince Charlotte that, it doesn't actually matter where your grandfather came from. It only matters who you are now. So I start with this, mystery theme here, which is... which comes up throughout the entire show, over and over and over again. It's basically anytime Charlotte is trying to find out the truth, that little theme plays. And here, Lisa takes this theme and kind of uses it against her. She's like, oh, you're trying to find the truth? Well, that's very silly. Let me tell you why. You say you're on this quest to find out who you are, my love, but maybe you don't even need to look that far, my love. Ba-da-da-da-da. Here, we have a big key change. So one of the things is that this song is a very upbeat pop song, and I needed to find out how to get myself into it, because the last song was this big ballad, and it felt kind of jarring to just go right into the song, so I had to find a nice transition. And I found something I'm really satisfied with by using this mystery theme to introduce us to the song, and then this key change to totally take us into a new world. So I'm changing the key at the same time as I'm changing the vibe, and that way it feels like a complete refresh, and it doesn't feel as jarring, I think. So we have, I can tell you here and now who Charlotte Rhodes is. Charlotte Rhodes. And then we go into that upbeat pop swing. So this is a very basic kind of pop musical theater vibe. We've got these images. They're just examples. It's kind of a list song in that way, where the characters are just listing things that support their argument. And then the chorus is little quirks, the little quirks that make you who you are. Like how you'll let a driver cut you off as long as he's in an electric car. So it's still all of these examples that she's using. And then she finally, at the end of the chorus, gets to the point of the song, which is, it's all these little quirks that make the woman I love. And then Charlotte is like, okay, my turn. I have some dirt on you too. I know your little quirks. And then Charlotte sings. And then we have them singing together. So here, this line gave me some trouble. I originally had, I could pick you out of a lineup. I would only have to look for that smile or something like that. But that didn't really make any sense. I wanted to say the idea that I could identify you just from the things you do and not from what you look like or anything, because I know you so well. That was kind of the idea that I wanted to get across, but I don't think I really succeeded in getting that across with that first line. So let me know what you think of this line. I could pick you out of a lineup of 700 million people with your identical smile. You would bite your lips, chew your fingertips, these little quirks, And I'd know that it was you from the little quirks you do, biting your lips or chewing your fingertips or whatever it is that this person does. It's the little quirks that they are doing that is going to make them identifiable in a lineup of people who look identical to them. Let me know if that's reading. I don't know if it is. And then you wouldn't need to spit in a vial. So that's the real point of the entire song. And I highlight that by I go from this like rhythm to these half notes, just to let it sink in what she's saying. You wouldn't need to spit in a vial, because they've been talking about this DNA test that Charlotte wants to get, and now Lisa's trying to convince her not to get it. Charlotte decides not to get it. Here's some underscoring. There's a lot of tension in this underscoring. These notes that are like right next to each other on the piano. So that even though it's like a happy tune that kind of represents the love they have for each other and how well they know each other, underneath it there's these like clashes to show that something isn't quite right in the relationship right now. This is my favorite. That bar 130 there. I basically play every note in the scale right next to each other. There. And then it kind of resolves a little bit, but there's still this tension here. And then Charlotte decides not to get the DNA test done. And at that point, the tension goes away because Lisa's gotten what she wants. Lisa's not mad at Charlotte anymore. And here we have without that tension. So there's no more tension because Lisa's gotten what she wants. But then, remember I told you this theme comes up every time Charlotte is searching for the truth? So then Charlotte goes into the other room and she picks up the DNA test, and we hear this. And she puts the DNA test in her bag. And then there's this minor ninth, which is like this really ugly, horrible interval that kind of represents the betrayal. She's made this promise to Lisa not to do this, not to get this DNA test, but she's doing it anyways. And so we hear the mystery theme of like trying to find out the truth, and then we hear this like really ugly interval inside of that theme that like represents all of that betrayal. And that is the end of that. So you can listen to the demo for this song as well at the link in the description. I sing both parts in my screechy falsetto. I hope you enjoy. And oh, right, there's one more thing that I want to take a minute to shout out while I have you here. I am starting up my Patreon again. So this is a really cool place where you can come hang out. And if you sign up for $4 a month to support the channel, you get a bunch of my exclusive demo recordings for new and upcoming projects that you won't get here on the channel. And you can also suggest songs for me to analyze in my music theater theory videos, and I'll try to get to them whenever I can. Then for $10 a month, you get all of that, plus you also get a shout out. For $25 a month, you get access to free sheet music from the sheet music store. So more on that in a second. And then for $100 a month, you get all of that, so $25 value, plus you get a monthly free 1-hour coaching, which is usually a $60 fee. So you're basically, if you're gonna sign up for a coaching with me anyways, it's $10 more to support the channel to get this awesome patron opportunity there. Yeah, so the sheet music store is the other thing I want to talk about. I'm going to put a bunch of sheet music for all of my songs here on Patreon. You can actually go there and purchase the sheet music if that is something that interests you. It's probably going to be about $10 to $15 per song, which means that if you sign up for the $25 a month tier of Patreon, it's like if you get 2 songs a month, you're saving money by doing that. So I'm just going to throw that out there. This is the best way you can support the channel. If you like what I'm doing and want to pushed me over to the finish line of getting this musical up and produced, Tommy Rhodes, and then getting my other musical theater writing projects seen by producers and taking that to the next step. If you want to be a part of that journey, this is the next way to do that. Of course, you already are a part of this journey by coming and joining me and hanging out with me. So thank you so much for being here. I will see you next week, and I will see you on Wednesday in my music theater theory video. See you then.